Okay, people, we are starting a new series on Revelation chapter 10. Very, very exciting. Very, very exciting times. I can't say it enough. And guys, quite often the Most High will confirm His word, confirm His message with signs following. Here you can see some examples of the diagrams we've shared with you and how the Most High has shown them in the stars and in clouds. Okay. And this says, I have many, many logs of situations where He's shown me things in the clouds. Like here you see lion, ox, man, eagle. Okay. And this happened the other day, and it confirmed the message I know I'm supposed to deliver. So what you're looking at is, during the night, I noticed this cloud hovering on the horizon, just one cloud. There was no clouds in the sky. There was just one cloud at a far distance that was flashing lightning. And it stood there for about an hour and a half. It never moved. It was amazing. So I was like, okay, that is telling us that we need to be on this subject of Revelation chapter 10 and the seven thunders. That's what we're going to talk about in this video. We're going to have some notes. And this is in Revelation chapter 10. So what you're looking at is on the horizon. I've compressed an hour and a half of video down into a couple minutes. So there you can see these flashing lightning taking place. And it's so far it's red, if you notice. Okay. But when we go to Revelation chapter 10, verse 1, I saw another mighty angel come down from heaven, clothed with a cloud, and a rainbow was upon his head. His face was as it were the sun, and his feet pillars of fire. He had in his hand a little book open, and he set his right foot on the sea and his left foot on the earth. And he cried with a loud voice as a lion roars. And when he had cried, seven thunders uttered their voices. Okay? So in this video, we're talking about the seven thunders in the book of Revelation that uttered their voices. Okay? There's other aspects of this prophecy we'll get throughout the series, guys. We're not going to cover the whole thing now. We're covering the timing of the seven thunders uttering their voices. Okay? There are times in the book of Revelation where the word thunder is used. Okay? It's used like Mount Sinai. Okay, so for example, when the Most High came down on Mount Sinai, it was a voice of a trumpet. It was flashes of lightning. It was the sound of thunder. Okay, and so this scene of Mount Sinai takes place throughout the book of Revelation. The book of Revelation has various things happening around the throne, and there are flashes of lightning. There is thundering voices. Now the word voices always accompanies the thundering and the lightning. Okay, there was thunder in this. It's just so far away. The video didn't pick it up. But notice how it said that there was a rainbow upon his head. If you look here in the same mountain, I saw this rainbow, and I've never looked down at a rainbow. I thought this was amazing. You can see it's going on one side of the mountain and going around the other. And I was like, okay, we're going to talk about this Revelation 10. And here we are in Mount Sinai. So this is literally, I'm standing on the shores of the Red Sea where the children of Israel crossed the Red Sea. Okay? I'm in Egypt. I'm in Nuweiba Beach in Egypt where the children of Israel crossed over. And a thunderstorm came over and went over our heads, over the Red Sea, over to the other side where actual Mount Sinai, the real Mount Sinai, events took place. It was amazing. The Egyptians there didn't know anything about this. They're not really familiar with thunder and lightning. But it happened two times when I went to Nuweiba Beach. Twice this happened. It was a major, major sign. Okay? So I just wanted to share with you some of the clips, because this one it was very close, as you can see the flash of lightning, and then the thunder happens right away. So these are signs and indicators of assemblies, okay? So it's not that these assemblies have to take place on Pentecost. Pentecost is when the Most High came down on Mount Sinai. But what these signs of lightning and thunder flashing around the throne are assemblies, okay? They are assemblies around the throne and take place throughout the book of Revelation, okay? And when they do, they mark time. They mark the beginning of one thing or the ending of something else, okay? They're marking the time. And they're going to mark, as we'll see, we're going to get the notes. We'll see them mark the time of the seals, the time of the trumpets, and the time of the bowls are marked by 7 thunders. Okay, there's other things that they mark as well. But that is what we're going to talk about in this video. Now, the next day from Mount Sinai, and when I was in Egypt, this is what it looked like. It was this cloud. There was light shining down on the Red Sea from this cloud. It was just this heavenly scene. It was just amazing. So I wanted to share with you a couple of these scenes because they were physical manifestations of things in the spirit, things around the throne, things we read about in the book of Revelation. There you can see there's not a cloud in the sky, but then that big cloud is just sitting there. Okay, so here we are right in Nuweiba Beach, right on the place where the children of Israel crossed over the Red Sea to go to Mount Sinai. And here you can see we're demonstrating what we could see in Revelation chapter 10. He had his right foot on the sea and his left foot on the earth, and he held up his hands and he had a book. Okay, so we are demonstrating all these things for you guys because this was an amazing time in my life to be there at the place where the children of Israel crossed the Red Sea. Now, for those of you new to this channel, I'm just going to run through this quickly, but I'm going to point out some things here. And keep in mind, the things that we're sharing with you, we've been sharing for years. We've been sharing that the apocalypse is 14 years. We've been sharing this for 5 years, okay? And we can prove this through many avenues as we continue in this video. So essentially, the diagram you're looking at, it includes 7 years, okay? So you have 7 years here and 7 years here, a total of 14 years. Now, what we're going to look at in this video is the fact that there are 7 seals. Okay, let's just use this as a seal. There are 7 seals. There are 7 trumpets. And there are 7 bowls. Okay? The 7 thunders mark the beginning of one of these events and go into the next one, okay? So, many of you are surprised by the things taking place because you hadn't known that this is the precise time that we're in, and this is the time that the prophecies would begin to take place. So, for example, when we shared this many years ago, okay, we shared this diagram, and we're in the time of the 7th trumpet. All right, we're in that time now. Now, before you say, oh, no, that's crazy, no, we're not, you're wrong, okay, keep in mind, we showed you this diagram, we showed you this information 5 years ago. Think about that. Think about 5 years ago. 5 years ago, what you have within the 7th trumpet is you would have the mark of the beast, okay? So we said precisely when that is, all right? Now that is in 2020. You can see right here the year, 2020. So we said this 5 years ago. Okay, 5 years ago, it would have seemed impossible to understand in our mind how the mark of the beast would take place by 2021. Why do we know that? Because the first bowl is ulcers. The ulcers come as a result of the mark of the beast. So that means that if this information is correct, the mark of the beast would happen at or around this time of 2021. Okay? Now, I was saying that in 2015. Okay, in 2016, I was proving this whole timetable, and, I was laughed at. I'm sure I'm being laughed at now, but it's right. Okay, it's right. And basically, how we can understand it is we have a time period which is called 7 churches. Okay, that's 3.5 years. All right. And then you have another time period of the seals. Okay, let's put that over here. Over here we got seals. Okay, and that goes from, the seals began in the spring of 2014 with the 4 blood moons. Okay, so you got this period of time is the seals, and during the seals you have 7 seals. Okay, then we come to the next 7 years. In the next 7 years, you have 7 trumpets. Okay? So the 7 trumpets began in 2017. Okay? In the fall of 2017 here, you have 7 trumpets. So we're in the time of the 7th trumpet. That's why I'm doing this message. Then once that happens, then we have 7 bowls. Okay, and then the 7 bowls go here. Each one of these is 3.5 years. So 3.5 years of the 7 churches, 7 ecclesia, 3.5 years of 7 seals, 3.5 years of 7 bowls, 7 trumpets, and 3.5 years of 7 bowls. Okay. Now, the other thing that I want to share with you is that all the information I get, multiple witnesses. I'm not just telling you one source of information. I'm giving you a source of information from different vantage points, okay? One of those vantage points is the menorah, okay? The menorah, as you can see here, is connected to lunar and solar eclipses that have taken place, giving us the time period of these 7 years. The first 7 years and the second 7 years that we showed you in those diagrams, all right? Now, the thunders correspond to the eclipses. Let me say that again. These thunders correspond to the eclipses. We'll explain them as we go throughout the video, but let me show them to you first. Let me show them to you in the menorah. So what we have here is certain years. So here you have 2014, 2015, 16, 17, 18, 19, etc. All right? Now, the prophecy says, when the sun is turned to sackcloth and the moon is turned to blood. So what that means is that the sun turning to sackcloth is a solar eclipse, a full solar eclipse, okay? So if we look here, okay, can you see how that is like a black dot? Okay, what that's representing is a full solar eclipse. Then a full red dot is a full lunar eclipse. That's called a blood moon. That's when the moon turns red. Okay? Now, the prophecy says when the sun turns to sackcloth and the moon turns to blood. What that means is this, within the order and sequence of eclipses, when that happens, it marks a significant point in time. Okay? And everything I showed you before in those diagrams, which are here, okay, they're expressed by these eclipses. So let me give you an example. Everyone was excited about the August 21st, 2017 full solar eclipse, okay? What does it mean? What does it mean, guys? Well, it's a thunder, okay? And then the following eclipse after that, August 21st, the next one is either lunar or solar, doesn't matter, but the next eclipse after that was January 31st, 2018, and it was a blood moon. That's what the prophecy says, when the sun turned to sackcloth and the moon turns to blood. It marks something significant, okay? Well, as you know, that was August 21st, 2017. Well, you had September 22nd, 2017. All right, a month later, that began the 7-year tribulation. That was it, guys. And a thunder marked that. Okay, now our next one is coming up this year, the year 2020. December 14th, there's a full solar eclipse. Okay, well, what is it marking? It's marking the seventh last trumpet. And what do we have? Blood moon. Okay? May 26, 2021. Okay? Now, also, you guys remember everyone saying, oh, there's an X over America of the two of the two eclipses. Okay? So the next one, solar eclipse over America, is April 8th. It's a full solar eclipse. What does it mean? There's a voice of thunder at the same time. It's in 2024. What does it mean? It's the seventh bowl. Now, in this video, we're talking about the timing of the seven thunders. 7 times the 7 thunders utter their voices. Okay? So we'll go back to our core verse. We have Revelation chapter 10. It said, a mighty angel cried with a loud voice as a lion roars. Okay, so the sound was like a lion roaring. Okay? And when he cried like a lion, 7 thunders uttered their voices. So these are talking thunders. Okay? The thunders are talking, their voices. So what we're doing is in this video, we're looking at 7 times the 7 thunders uttered their voices. There's 7 times where it says this, the word thunder and voices. Okay? And then it says in Revelation 10, verse 7, in the days of the voice of the 7th angel began to sound. So there's a certain number of days. Okay, the 7th trumpet is not a single day, it is days, plural. Okay? And so what is that? Well, basically what it is all of the seals, trumpets, and bowls happen in a 6-month window, if you were. All right? So we are now in the time of that 7th trumpet, and that goes from now until Passover 2021. Okay? Now it goes longer than that because it says it's 1,335 days, which we won't get into in this video. We have other videos on that. But what we're getting at is in the days of the voice of the 7th angel began to sound. So a lot of this information I've been hanging on to for years, waiting for the days of the voice of the 7th angel. Now we're in them. Okay? Now our first thunder, or our first example of thunder that's used in the book of Revelation is Revelation chapter 4, verse 1. And I heard the voice of a trumpet. Well, that happened at the Feast of Trumpets. Okay? So we can see precisely when that happened, that voice of the trumpet is a voice of assembly. That was in the fall at the Feast of Trumpets in the year 2013. In the year 2013, fall Feast of Trumpets, it was this assembly. Okay? And that it was the coming from, and then you have out of the throne went lightnings, thunderings, and voices. Okay? Now, what we're going to do is we're going to read the text in Revelation, okay, throughout the book of Revelation. We're going to compare that to the book of Esther. The book of Esther corresponds to every single, not every single, there's a couple that it doesn't, okay? But it corresponds to many of these thunders, okay, are in the book of Esther. And our third witness is we have solar eclipses and lunar eclipses. Not just any solar and lunar eclipse, a full solar, a full lunar, and a full solar followed by a full lunar eclipse. Amazing. Okay? So our first, I heard a voice of a trumpet, Feast of Trumpets, 2013. All right? I heard a voice of a trumpet. Out of the throne proceeded lightnings, thunderings. So that's our first thunder. All right? What happened in the book of Esther? The king held a feast of 180 days. Now, remember what we said is that every trumpet, every seal, every bowl is 180 days, which is 6 months. But in the book of Esther, this happens after 3 years. Okay? And so that's what we're showing you here, is the king sits upon the throne, and then you have 1 year, 2 year, 3 years. Then he holds a feast of 180 days. Well, that just completed 3.5 years. Okay? So that completed 3.5 years. Now, this is all stuff happening before the throne. There may or may not be physical manifestations on the earth. Just keep that in mind. The ones that we do have are the eclipses. So what marked that? All right, well, we have a full solar eclipse on November 3rd, 2013. So that's our sun turned to sackcloth, okay? Then it says the moon turned to blood. Well, that gives us the April 15th full blood moon of the lunar tetrad. That was April 15, 2014, 6 months later, okay? And we find this in Revelation 6:1, the Lamb opened seal number 1, and I heard a voice of thunder. Okay, so we have a voice of thunder. This is our second voice of thunder. From the 4 living creatures. Now, the first living creature was like a lion. Now, remember that the angel, he cried, his voice was as a lion roar. So it's the sound of the Lion of the tribe of Judah that has overcome. Okay? So that is the first seal. In the book of Esther, the king is angry when Vashti refuses the king's command to come to the feast. So Vashti is divorced. That opens the seals. That happened April 15, 2014, ushering in the 7 seals. Okay? Then we get our third thunder. Revelation 8, verse 5. In the 7th seal, okay, the angel took the censer full of cords and cast them to the earth. And there were voices, thunderings, lightning, and an earthquake. Okay? So here you see the voices of thundering. This is our third voice of thunder. And then you see this is when Esther is crowned. Okay, so the seals from the time of seal 1 to seal 7 is 3.5 years. Okay, so you can see it was 3.5 years here, and then we come to Esther being crowned in year 7. The next 3.5 years, giving us a total of 7. And what is our sign? August 21st, 2017, the woman clothed with the sun, with the crown of 12 stars. What is that? It's Esther. Esther is crowned. All right, and then the next eclipse is January 31st, 2018. Full solar eclipse, full lunar eclipse. Okay? And our third voice of thunder. Then our next one, Revelation chapter 11, in verse 15. The 7th angel sounded. So this is the time period we are in now, the 7th angel sounding. And the temple was open. And was seen in the temple the Ark of the Covenant. And there were lightnings, voices, and thunderings, an earthquake, and great hail. Okay, so now we're at our 4th voice of thunder. Now, there's many people talking about an asteroid or different things. Yes, there's possibilities of an increase in hail and signs of this 7th trumpet. This is what we're watching for, guys. An earthquake, great hail at the time of this 7th trumpet. Now, what is our eclipse? It's December 14th, 2020, this year. Full solar eclipse, okay? So we got that full solar eclipse going along with the story and the prophecy of the 7th angel sounding the trumpet with lightnings, voices, thunderings, an earthquake, and great hail, okay? Then, our next one, Revelation 14. Revelation 14, verse 2, gives us our 5th thunder. The 144,000 before the throne. I heard a voice from heaven, a voice of many waters, as a voice of great thunder. You see, all these thunders talk. Okay, all these thunders come from a person. All right, so this is our 5th great thunder. All right, and that is marked by a lunar eclipse, May 26, 2021. All right. And we see you have a question mark. No man knows the day, the hour, guys. But this is the season we're watching. All right. And that's the 5th great thunder. Then Revelation 16, 17. All right. Now we get to the bowls. And the 7th bowl. And the voice out of the temple from the throne saying, it is done. It is finished. And there were voices, thunders, lightnings, and a great earthquake, okay, at what? The 7th bowl, And that is marked by a full solar eclipse. This is the one over America, April 8th, 2024. Full solar eclipse. All right. Now, I just want to mention as well, just briefly, that when we get to the seventh angel in the seventh trumpet, what's happened is that there was a holding back of the first four trumpets. So the first four trumpets, it says, don't let the winds blow. Okay, so there was a holding back of those trumpets. Now we can see trumpet 1 and trumpet 4. We do have evidence of those. But trumpets 2 and 3 appear to be held back. Okay, and we believe that it's possible that those signs, okay, of hail and asteroids and a mountain falling from heaven and wormwood and all that, that it's possible that those would take place in the time of the seventh angel sounding his trumpet, the seventh trumpet, okay? And again, that's now until next year, all right, in that window. So then we had the seventh bowl, we had the April 8th, 2024 solar eclipse, okay? So that lead us to our, that was our sixth voice of thunder. Then our next prophecy, and I put it this way, guys, it may not actually be in this order, but I have on here, as you can see, Armageddon. Okay, so Armageddon, and you can see what it says here, it could be before the wedding supper. So here you have Armageddon and you have the wedding supper, but other views of it have the wedding supper first. I just did it this way because of the correspondence with the book of Esther. So in Revelation 16, in verse 16, we hear about Armageddon, okay? And this relates to the king's decree in the book of Esther that the Jews were threatened for their lives, okay? Even now, we're threatened for our lives. And then they made war and defeated their enemies, okay? So that's Armageddon, when the Lamb comes back on his white horse and defeats the world, okay, that's trying to kill all the saints. Well, it's not a full lunar eclipse, but the next eclipse after April 8th, 2024 is September 17th, 2024. And it's approximate this time period that we're watching for Armageddon, okay? And then and now there's no thunder associated with that, but we can see the story of Armageddon in the book of Esther, and as we can see the wedding supper, okay, the wedding supper. Finally, our seventh voice of thunder. So in Revelation 19:6, I guess I'm just going by the order of Revelation here. Revelation 19:6, the voice of a great multitude, the voice of many waters, the voice of mighty thundering. Again, it's talking thundering, and this is our seventh thunder, saying, Alleluia, rejoice, for the marriage supper of the Lamb has come. Okay, so we have the marriage supper of the Lamb taking place in the voice of thunder. Then the book of Esther, both Esther and Mordecai and all the Jews celebrate the feast of Purim. Well, this is a memorial to the wedding supper of the Lamb. So there we can see that the seven thunders, or seven times in the book of Revelation, that it says the voice of thunder, these correspond to events in the book of Esther, and they correspond to specific lunar and solar eclipses. The sun shall be turned to sackcloth, and the moon shall be turned to blood. So guys, we're going to have more content on the seven thunders. Who is the angel? Okay, more information on this. This is just our intro video, and we're going to have more on this, okay? But I will put some links to some other things we don't have the time to cover here. The prophecy, many of the prophecies of the seventh trumpet, okay? A lot more information on the 1,335 days, okay? But before we wrap it up, let's just show you this graphic again, and show you in a way you can see it a little better, that we have these thunders corresponding to these eclipses, okay? Here's the menorah, all right? And you can see them as a full solar eclipse, Okay, I believe all of them, except for this one, except for one, right, trying to get on the screen right here, all of the solar eclipses here are marking thunders, okay? So those thunders begin in the fall of 2013, all right? Then we have the thunder of August 21st, 2017, the thunder of December 14th, 2020, this year, the thunder of April 8th, 2024, okay? And those are corresponding to the 24 almond blossoms on the menorah. So the menorah has 7 lamps, okay? And then it has 22 almond blossoms. Well, those almond blossoms relate to eclipses, lunar and solar eclipses. We have another video on that, okay? But guys, this is where we've been telling you these things for many years. And now they are happening, okay? Sure, you can be in denial and say, no, you're wrong. Well, it's going to happen. Whether you like it or not, whether I like it or not, whether you're right or I'm right, the prophecy is going to happen. The words of the scripture will be fulfilled. So guys, as we say, fear God, give glory to him, for the hour of his judgment is come. Worship him that made the heavens, the earth, the seas, and the fountains of waters. Amen.